Okay. We should be
Right,
good.
We need
Great.
someone for a quorum, do we not?
we have one online.
I'm here, Dwight.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hey, Dwight.
Neil, do you want me to turn that up? Do you
I
want-
guess it's this, right?
Yeah, it'll come out of there. I just didn't know if you want it louder or.
No, that's-
I can hear it fine.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
So I'd like to make a motion to open the November 13th, 2024 Village of New Paltz Shade Tree Commission.
Second,
All in favor?
Hi.
And the first application is 2024-06, 18 Mulberry Street. This one up. They are, if anyone had a chance to look at it,
yes,
they're requesting that they remove spruce. And I don't know if you have your, and then, oh, mulberry, okay, mulberry, this is the, and then Norway maple, and then willow and a black walnut, and then they have this report here.
Most of those are already removed,
That's,
not the ones within 20 feet of
yes,
the
most
road.
of, yeah, so most of them are outside of our jurisdiction. There were just a few that were within 20 feet of the road.
that's what I wrote.
And then there was some questions, or some of them, are they on their property or the town village's property by the pool? So,
Did we find the info? Or they still not sure?
so anyone want to make comments?
Well, I wrote down that there were two pines that seemed to be the ones that they wanted to remove. And, the one on the left didn't look in very good shape. That was my opinion, and, there wasn't anything that looked like it had to come down right away, but to me, but the one on the left didn't look so healthy of those two pines. And then I guess there were also two maples, is that right?
Yes, on
Yeah.
the southeast side.
But I think those are the ones you're not sure where they are, right? If they're even. in
No,
our
they're on this property,
No, but I mean, they're in our jurisdiction too.
no question about it.
Yeah, those were so, Mark, do you have anything, or do you want to hear what Dwight has to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tough to tell health of trees at this time of year when you're
No,
driving
it's
by.
not.
Well, it's tough for maybe non-professionals like yourself, Dwight, because a lot of trees.
Well, here's the thing, Mark, you have to identify the plant, and it's a blue spruce, and the blue spruce.
Oh, I'm not
are-
talking about, yeah, I'm not talking about the spruce. I'm talking about the maples. Yeah, obviously a spruce is a little easier to tell. But yeah,
They acquired a disease, the Hudson Valley is rife with it, and all the
Yeah.
blue spruces are going downhill. And those are infected, and they will only decline, they'll never look better than they do now.
yeah, no,
Look pretty crappy.
I agree with the spruce, and like you said, I mean, we don't plant them anymore, but I more was referring to the maples. I didn't think that they were unhealthy, but
No, they're not.
No.
You know, there may be a leaf spot or something like that, but the two Norway maples, and what's curious about that is in their planting plan, they planned for a large canopy tree in that location. Well, they already have one.
Right.
It's a twin leader, and you don't need the second leader that leans toward the house, so my recommendation would be to remove the one leader and let the other one grow. Leans away from the house, got clearance.
Well, I have to go back. I thought, was this the project where they wanted to clear it out because they need access back there?
Well, that's phony, because they've already had machinery back there.
Okay, that's a good point.
You know, The trees in the back are gone. They have grading equipment back there already, so access is not really a problem.
Did you have a comment, Mark? Oh, did was someone raising their hand?
Yes, hi. I am the landscape architect for this application and.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were here. If you want
Yeah,
to,
sorry.
please make a statement.
My name is Wendy Andringa. I'm here on behalf of the owner and we put together this removal plan and also the tree replacement plan. And also
We
in
saw that,
attendance,
mhm.
yeah, and also in attendance is the contractor from McClure Contracting. So I just wanted to explain also from our point of view why we were making the recommendation to replace that that double trunk Norway maple because it does seem healthy, when you just overall, but the tree is actually it has codominant stems, which is structurally a weakness for a tree, because at the point of connection where the two trees come together, that creates a weak point, a structurally weak.
Wendy, that's why I suggested it be removed, the inside leader,
Right.
for
It's
that reason.
it's difficult
But why do you want to
to
remove the outside leader?
because since the two have grown in tandem, they're leaning away from each other because it's already quite a large tree. So the remaining stem will then be at risk of rot where the second one has been cut
That's what I was
off
trying to ask the
because
thing.
they are connected at the base and it's also already leaning. So, it's with two competing stems, you take one away, one is leaning, and it's not going to be very long-lived, the remaining stem.
Not buying it, Wendy.
So, Wendy, just so you know, Dwight is an arborist, and he is an advisor to our committee. But I was wondering could you just give us kind of a summary of the proposed changes, because it's been a while since we got the report, and I was looking at the application, but I didn't look at the summary again, and it seems like there's been some changes because some of the trees are outside of our jurisdiction. So could you just give us like a brief update of what the plan was and what's happened and what you're hoping to do?
Is it okay if I share screen because I can show you the plan?
Sure.
Isn't this,
Haven't we seen copies?
Yeah, we have copies, but if other people are online
Okay.
and watching it too, then they'll get to see the plan
Okay.
as well.
I was very impressed by this plan. The plan to do all of the plantings around this property. And obviously there was a lot of thought put into it. So
Okay,
I
so
didn't want to say that.
So we're looking at the plan with north up and Mulberry Street is at the bottom. So you can see the new addition here to the existing house and the driveway leading to that addition. And I've marked in red dashed line the 20-foot offset from the street from Mulberry. So what we're proposing in the location where the codominant stem Norway maple is a new silver or sugar maple. These are both native trees, and the sugar maple is on your recommended street tree list. So we think it would be a great option to replace the Norway maple. And then we're also proposing another maple on the other side of the driveway. So currently, this large tree over here is a big, beautiful silver maple, and we really love that tree and we want to protect it. So we're proposing to pair 2 new maples at the front of the house. The other one that's in front of the house over on the right is an existing robinia, a black locust tree. And that one is healthy. We're going to do a little bit of pruning for the one limb that's touching the house, but otherwise it looks really good, and we're going to preserve it. So that's really for the front of the house. That's the replacement plan.
Okay,
What size trees do you plan to install?
We're gonna go for 2 to 3 inch caliper.
Mhm.
okay.
Personal
And-
notes
And the
for-
reason we're also selecting native trees is that, you know, they provide more habitat. A Norway maple is a very aggressive tree, and it doesn't provide the same sort of habitat value to moths, to pollinators, to caterpillars, because it just it hasn't co-evolved with our native insects the same way the native maples have.
Yeah, well, thank you. Anyone have any questions?
I don't, I know what my opinion is, so.
Okay.
If you have the resources and can put in a quality 2.5 to 3 inch tree, I think that's good. I would, you know, in terms of economy and viability, that half of the Norway maple would be fine, but you wanna cut and remove and install a 3 inch sugar maple? I'm for that.
I think the whole landscape plan is very well done and it'll look very nice in that area.
It would be great if everyone hired landscape architects.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, Mark, are you all set? Do you wanna, have anything you wanna say, or are we ready to take a vote? And so,
You know, it's always a little bit of a trade-off to lose, even though it's a lower quality tree. It's always a trade-off to lose some of the canopy. You know, we lose shade, and a 3 inch caliper tree will be a while coming. But at the same time, there's a lot of older, damaged, diseased trees in the village, and so when we get someone who wants to plant something healthy and new, it creates greater age diversity in our canopy. So that's my general thoughts on it, is it's a positive thing.
I know, I agree. I was gonna mention this earlier, you know, but, you know, I really think we need to make sure we have plant as many trees now as we can, because a lot of the trees that we love looking at now are not gonna be here in 50 or 100 years, maybe.
Right.
And so we need to make sure there are more of them. And so, yeah, I agree. It's not great to cut down trees, but at least we're getting 2 well-chosen trees to replace them in the right place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
My motion would be to approve the application contingent upon planting the 2 new trees that they have proposed.
I agree.
Let's just make sure that we confirm the proposed size too in that motion. It'll be
Planting
2.5 to 3 inch caliper replacement trees.
So, do you feel that those are a good size?
Yeah, oh yeah, 2.5 to 3s. I
Okay,
mean, you go bigger than that, it gets really expensive, and you need very heavy machinery to manage it.
Okay.
As it is, 2.5 inch ball is probably 600 pounds.
Well,
okay, I'll modify my motion. We, motion to approve the application to, and contingent upon planting 2.5 to 3 inch replacement trees within
sec-
20 feet of the road.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
it's a beautiful plan that she's got here.
Gotta take care of Ed first.
Yes, I'm trying to open the next computer. So, next one is 199 Main Street, application 2407. And your applicants here, you want to come up and join us? And so, this is a proposal to remove, one tree in the southwest corner of the property. There's a picture on the application. They're looking to add solar panels as well as the tree is potentially a hazard. And so I don't know if anyone wants to, anyone had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I took a number of pictures of it
Okay, do you want
from
to,
different angles.
comment or anything?
Yeah, well, I felt as though the tree itself is it's in bad shape. It's leaning over, it's all within the power lines. That could be rectified by pretty severe pruning, but also I looked it up and I guess it's a linden tree.
Little Leaf Linden, yes.
Yeah, it's a linden tree. I know that once the roots of a linden tree take over, it's gonna spread and it can be an aggravation.
If I could add to that,
Sure.
I purchased the property last month. And upon inspection, that property is the only property on Main Street that is not connected to sewer. We have public water, but we have private sewer, which is in the front yard, and those roots are now going into, I forget what the word,
It's a septic.
it's a septic, but it's a certain septic, and the roots are already going into that when they did the scope.
Surprised that it's not connected to the sewer.
Believe it or not, when they,
The septic, the drain field is right there
correct,
in the front.
correct.
Oh,
So if you actually walked up the sidewalk, you will see where the access is. Did not know this, and I wound up going to see Blue. And, Blue said when they brought the sewer up, they turned it down to North Manheim and came back out Harrington.
So are you gonna be able to connect the sewer?
No. Well, they would if M&T will give me access to go over their property 150 feet or all the way around the other side. And that was a residence at one point.
Wow.
And when it was a residence, the field was in the back. And when that failed, that's why they converted that piece of property to a commercial property.
So it's probably hard to actually even replant a tree there.
It would be impossible to plant the tree there.
That's what my question was,
How
because
about
they
on the
said,
other side of the front area?
Interrupt
Well,
me.
it's not a very wide piece of property,
Right, it's not,
and the signage is on that other side.
mhm.
yeah,
So-
so you pull it back from the overhead wires.
See, here's this
Well,
Quite a bit.
the
lawn
signage is
right
there.
here, but I think. So what you're saying is right in that big lawn to the left of the walkway is actually, that's where the septic is?
Correct.
Oh, because I was thinking what a great place that you could put a tree there that would not interfere with the power lines,
That's the.
but now it can't, there can't be a tree there.
Yep.
So, I don't see any other place that we can replace that tree.
I believe that there is a spot, but I don't know what your plans are, and in terms of the signage. When you plant a shade tree for canopy, you want this thing to grow up,
Mhm.
so it's not necessarily blocking the signage. In other words, you get it up to a certain point, first couple of years, yeah, it may interfere, but it's small, so the sign is large. But as it goes up, you prune off the lowers and it develops more crown above your sign and above everything, so.
Could the sign
There
be
is a
where the tree is?
potential for coexistence. is what
My-
I'm saying.
I guess part of the problem is, and why we're being this way is, if you just look at along Main Street, we've lost more trees are being taken down than being replanted along 299.
Mm.
It's just not happening,
Mhm.
right? We get I think in the last year, we probably approved 2 or 3 coming down. And, just to kind of tie everyone into this and with my new focus, remember the heat wave we had this summer?
Yes,
Right, we have maybe one of those a year now, less than one a year. By mid-century, we're probably gonna have 5,
wow.
and by the end of this century, 10. So basically, every week all summer, we're gonna have one of those.
Hmm.
Trees lower the temperature by about 6.5 degrees in that area. So it's gonna be a huge difference, especially along Main Street. If people are walking up and down Main Street and there's no trees, people aren't gonna wanna do it.
Mm.
So but now's the time to get those trees planted along Main Street.
Right, the overhead wires are a
Yes,
real problem there.
yes, especially on this side. That's one of the problems.
So do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you can see
all
that's
the
where.
wires attached to the house,
Clear,
right
so-
through the tree.
You know, you said.
Right in the middle of the
Here's
walkway?
Pole right here,
Okay.
and it goes right
It
through the
get,
tree.
are we ever gonna get this corner right here? You have a photo that would reveal the signage in this corner?
No, the signage is right here. Are you saying try and plant something there? Because I'd still be afraid that the roots are gonna go in, because.
What, this? Main Street is here?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm talking about right back here. If that's,
That,
you know,
yeah, that's basically 4 feet from the building.
right, you would come this way of 4 or 5 feet from the, is that a sidewalk that goes in front?
That's a sidewalk that goes that way, and it's a sidewalk that goes that way. And Neil, I understand.
So we're just trying to, every chance we get, we're trying to put one in.
I understand.
There are some places you can't do it, and we understand that. But we're just-
Hey, just,
It's possible, you split the difference between clearance from the house and the wires here and this overhead wire, which also comes in. And you use Armstrong is the name variety of a native red maple. And it develops in a very severe conical method or manner. It does not produce, the limbs tend to be short, so that they don't interfere with wires and gutters as quickly as the normal Norway maple.
With all,
You could also do a smaller tree, but you wouldn't get the benefit of big canopy and carbon sequestration.
yeah, I mean, in order to get the canopy, it has to grow large enough, and it's gonna be far enough back from the sidewalk. That there's no canopy now because of the way the sun goes.
Right.
There's no shade on that sidewalk
I
at
noticed
all.
that today.
Yeah,
No, but
Absolutely.
what it's doing is it keeps the pavement from heating up. So it kind of, it's not necessarily just under the shade, it's kind of the whole area, and then the transpiration.
But the sidewalk still doesn't get
Yeah.
covered at all.
No, that's true.
Well, I had, a question, and that was.
Mark had one too. No, we- we
I'm
interrupted him.
sorry. Where
Oh,
is
you can
he?
go ahead. You can go ahead, Shelley.
Okay, as you can see, this part of the trees ends halfway up. Half of the tree has already been cut halfway
Yep.
off. And the part that's hanging over the house and that's encroaching on the wires is twice the height of where the other side ends. Would it be possible to just even severely prune that left side off of there? The trunk is very,
It is. Shelley,
stable.
let me answer your question, because I think I grasp it.
Okay,
Yes, it is possible. It would take a very skilled operator. And the problem that Ed has is the roots. The roots penetrating his,
Seems like
Oh,
it'll only be a
okay.
matter of time before it has to come down anyway. With the roots.
right, so and it would be a constant headache of repruning every 5 to 8 years. Linden is profuse in its growth. There are 2 other lindens just further
Right.
east. And, they're misshapen like this one
Right,
is
the
somewhat.
central Hudson comes.
But
through
they
and does
do,
what they
they do have a large canopy, and in my opinion, if they're not doing any other damage, like the septic system or
Mhm.
foundation, even the butchered linden in that situation
Mhm.
is better than no tree at all. So yes, you know, it might offend the eye saying, oh, look at it, it's all misshapen. You know, but it's healthy enough to produce foliage, healthy enough to cast shade, healthy enough to absorb carbon from the air, produce oxygen.
But if it was really pruned, the whole left side, meaning like this part,
Mhm.
it would almost be a normal looking tree,
Right.
but.
For a
Yeah,
few
I mean,
years,
I-
It would have to be redone and then redone. Now, who's your operator that's gonna do that?
I
Right,
don't
but
know,
it's-
but you know.
It's
kind of moot
also,
though, right, isn't it?
I know
Because it's
linden
causing,
trees.
Let's hear
Is it-
from Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
well, I was gonna say, it's kind of moot because one of the big issues is that it's causing damage to the septic system. And
Yeah,
like, so even, you know, no matter what we do above, it doesn't really change this root system, which is penetrating the leach field, I guess is what I understand. So Ed, and maybe I don't know if this is even a possibility, but Ed, you own a number of properties in town.
I do.
What would the commission think about if we looked at a different site where there isn't a tree on one of those other properties? I don't know if there is a spot that sort of has a similar street facing shade tree value, and we approved removal of this tree contingent on a tree planting elsewhere of high quality, like we've discussed with the, you know, the 2.5 to 3 inch caliper tree that will provide shade in a different spot. You know, we're losing shade there, but we may, you know, maybe there's another site that Ed would be willing to consider. Just a thought.
I'd be fine with that. I think it's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the bigger picture, right?
the only thing is that it's gonna be a big wasteland in that area, because.
The bank has
Up-
not
yes.
responded to this
Well,
point.
actually, I'm
That's right,
gonna,
and there are no trees on that side.
yes, no, that's it, but I'm gonna bring this up later on.
Yeah.
For, you know, I don't wanna interrupt now and waste your time, but for Arbor Day, I wanted to ask the shade tree what they thought about us planting along Manheim where the old school building was.
Mhm. And that looks wonderful with that building gone, that.
The building is gone and you can see, and I don't wanna waste your time, but you know, we would be planting a tree right in this area. Like almost across the street, not on Main Street, but on Manheim. We'll get to that later, but I also like Mark's idea of, you know. I don't know if you would be open to that, you know.
I'm open to everything, but I don't know why I would have to have that be contingent.
Well, the idea of the shade tree law is that, you know, we want to preserve the canopy, as Neil was talking about before. We want to preserve the canopy. So anytime there's a loss to the canopy, we want to replace it for a lot of reasons, for the aesthetics of the village.
Yeah, and usually what we do is, you know, like with the previous application, it's like, okay, we'll allow this tree to be removed if a new one is planted. But if sometimes it's not possible because of the sewer or the septic, or overhead wires, or, you know, you have limited space and you don't want to necessarily put them in there. We're open to the idea of, instead of saying, okay, well, you know what, a tree is more important than the sign. And saying, you know what, put it where the sign is, or we could put it on another property.
Anyway, I wouldn't mind meeting you sometime at that site and I'll show you exactly where where it might work and be far enough away from.
Yeah, but I mean, and I respect everything that you guys are saying, but it gives me a tree on my property, but doesn't give any canopy to the sidewalk or anything along those lines.
Will in 20 years or 30 years or whatever.
Well, if it gets that tall, then it's gonna impact
Well,
No,
any
it's
tree,
not-
my solar panels and whatnot.
no, but it's not just the shade that you're underneath, right? It's the shade, that would be keeping, if you planted a tree in between that sign and the house.
You know,
Well, I'm just explaining, right?
I
That would,
didn't take into consideration the solar panels. If you've
Okay.
got solar panels, they wanna face south,
Correct.
that's, you know, so we
But
got
thi-
it, I
this
think
tree
we
would
should
be-
drop the idea of canopy in front of this building, put canopy somewhere else.
I'm just wondering if this tree is completely taken out. If something else is planted there, even if it isn't going to be a huge tree, that at least it would alleviate the look of just a wasteland on that entire stretch.
So just so you know,
It wouldn't even have to be
I
that
I
tall.
redid my building at 68 Main Street. I did that last year and I tried bringing back to what it looked like 100 years ago.
Oh, wow, nice.
This building I bought it to move my office there. That's gonna be my office. I plan on making it very attractive. You know, this isn't just a rental property where I'm looking to generate income. It's gonna be my
Right.
business there. So I
I hear you.
really want to make it look.
Well, that's why I'm
desirable.
thinking, even if we can't plant a tree that is going to definitely be a shade tree in that area and take care of the sidewalk. But at least if we could plant another tree, that wouldn't grow that large, that wouldn't grow up into the wires, that maybe had some kind of an appeal, green appeal, or just,
She means like a dogwood.
yeah, or a red bud or whatever. That wouldn't really obstruct what the reasons that you.
I don't have any opposition to doing that. I
Okay,
mean, obviously.
that would make me feel a lot better.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I don't want it to be barren.
Yeah,
I
right.
want it to look nice. That house was built in 1928, and that's kind of my goal is to try and bring
It's a
back
very
that,
nice
that
house.
appeal to what it looked like. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, the building to the east of that, it was actually the same building. That was built by the same person who actually had built the building across the street that the school district took down. Now, obviously, they converted that into student rentals, and that's a 7-bedroom house, and they ruined the porch, they ruined everything, so I would really like to make that look appealing.
Okay, so you think that could be a possibility, and then maybe in a different area, put the canopy tree?
Well, I think he's asking to cut down one tree. We can't want you to plant 2 trees. I don't think that's.
Okay, I'll leave it up to you guys.
No, I mean, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, okay.
But, would people be open to a resolution of we approve the removal of this tree contingent upon another tree being planted within 20 feet of the road, either at this location or another location that he works with, you on or us on?
Mhm.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Nicely
you
worded.
wanted, your suggestion about putting trees across the street, I'll make a donation of a tree.
Did I ask about that?
I mean, as long as it's not like, $2,000.
Yeah,
Decent.
Okay, so, that's my motion is approval contingent upon another tree being planted at this location within 20 feet or, you work
Stipulate that it's an ornamental tree, because that gives it a
ornamental tree at this location.
description. Yeah, it's an ornamental tree at that one, or a shade tree at another location, either or.
Okay,
because I think that would really enhance the area.
Shelley's lobbying for an ornamental tree there.
that'd
Small,
be nice too.
compact,
No, I agree with you.
and showy or flower colors.
Yeah, okay, someone want to second that?
I will.
All in favor?
I'll
Thank
second it.
I'm usually, what was it again?
Ornamental tree.
Right, what is the decision? Like, it's contingent
Oh.
upon,
Yeah,
Planting either an ornamental tree at that location or
Shade tree.
a shade tree at another location.
Just for clarity, what is the definition of an ornamental?
It's a flowering tree perhaps, or they're,
Height, width?
yeah,
They're
small, they're small.
yeah, they don't
more
grow to
compact.
Like a
90
red
feet.
bud.
A red
It's-
bud.
It's they don't, we,
Could be a Japanese maple.
Oh,
that-
perfect, so
Yeah.
I could build something like that and do a little garden around.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Here's,
And
here's the
that-
thing
we
though.
often propose that where the power lines are because we don't want them to grow big and then have Central Hudson come in and fix
Well,
it.
that was kind of what I wanted to do when that tree was out of there, put something that doesn't get tall. in
Yes.
there And
Yeah.
do some flowers.
Yeah,
Some of the dogwoods are beautiful. and
Perfect.
Red buds are
yeah,
beautiful.
that's what we try to keep.
Mhm.
if you look at our list online of the trees we recommend, we have different trees recommended for where there are power lines and when there aren't power lines, because
Yep.
that even the ornamental trees help with
Sure.
the feeling, the looks, the cooling, everything. So,
Absolutely.
okay,
Okay,
all,
yay.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, if I reach out to you.
Sure, call me anytime.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Ed.
Thank you.
And the roots to those lindens are
Well, that,
brutal.
so if you actually walked up to, the porch, the roots gotta be that big around going right under the porch. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
I believe they
Thanks.
plant those in. Not anymore, probably.
There was one right in the middle of Maine and Chestnut, that garden.
Okay, I don't think anyone else is here. The last application. Pull this up,
Mill Rock? Is that the Mill Rock?
Yeah,
Yes.
is it 3 Mill Rock?
Yes,
3 Mill Rock.
I have.
They want to go by there today?
I was there a couple of days ago. I
Yeah, I
took
think
quite a few pictures.
we might want to compare pictures. It seems like there were several trees removed today from that
Oh.
spot. Yeah. I took a
Oh.
picture because I was like, I couldn't identify where I didn't see a hemlock. I think he had a hemlock listed and an elm. I didn't see those trees. There wasn't
Well,
anything marked. And what I saw was
wrote down
5 stumps.
eight trees in a row there, 8.
Yeah,
That,
they were the
that's how
trees
many
that
I
were in that,
counted.
they were in that
Yeah,
little
just-
concrete. Yeah, they were sort of boundaried by concrete on both sides, like kind of
Yes.
right in a row. Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
all of them?
Yeah, they were all
Those
removed.
They're just gone?
Those are
Yeah,
most
they-
of the applications, right? And then was it the
Well,
birch?
were they within 20 feet of the roadway?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they
think
were like
most of them
within
were.
1 foot of the
Were they up
roadway.
against the building?
They were
Yeah, they
between
kind of,
two buildings.
I
yeah,
think it's these, right?
yeah. So I guess the
Yeah.
homeowner decided to remove them. Like I said, I took a picture. I'll send it to everybody. I can't do it right this second, but I can send it to everybody after the
The
meeting.
big one?
Oh, yeah, the big,
I don't know if you, what's
did they,
shows-
did
no,
they
you
take the
can't
big
see
one
it.
out? The big
No,
one,
I think it's still there. No, it may be gone. I saw the birch is still there.
Yeah, there's a birch there. That wasn't on, was that on the list?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think that, I think all that stuff on the left was, there was nothing removed on the left side.
Next to this
There were-
garage.
There were like
Yes.
6 or 7 trees all clustered together.
Yeah, there were
in the-
like 8 trees. I counted them.
8, yeah, and they're all stumps now.
But I
they're-
thought, didn't he
they're
have to
gone.
get permission, or he didn't have to get permission, or he just did it anyway and now?
I don't know. I mean, was that an emergency removal? That's sort of
I
seemed like
don't
the,
see any reason, right?
yeah, that seemed
No, the
like the
thing is-
request of the homeowner was an emergency removal for, danger to the structure. And yeah, I was a little surprised. They were just gone.
I mean, Dwight, did you get a chance to look at them? So this was,
I-
for 1 hemlock, 7 elms and 2 maples.
I think they're Chinese elms, but
And they were,
I went by
Right.
there, yeah. Okay, that's the best picture so far I've seen so far.
I didn't measure it, but the farthest one away seemed like it might have been more than 20 feet. Next to the garage.
Yeah, and a problem for the garage if it's, because he showed a picture in his application of the root collars right next to the building, which has gotta be a trouble,
Yeah.
but these here that are in between the garage and the sidewalk in front, 1 or 2 of those, 7 in a row like that, they compete with each other, take a very narrow form, get as tall as possible. Be better with just a couple or 3.
Right.
That's
Spread
what I
out
was,
a little better.
I
that's
just
what I was
emailed,
hoping we were gonna be able to recommend, that they just.
I
thinned
just
out.
emailed, sorry to interrupt. I just emailed
Yeah.
Shade Tree. I just emailed everybody the pic that I took today. No,
Well, they're there,
And, whoever's removing the undesirable of that group can cut back the top of the desirable ones, and you get a better result
Right.
But they're
Well, that-
all gone
and
now.
a safer result.
Is that, you're saying they're all cut
I
down?
guess,
and
do you guys see that
I
picture?
think so, cause I went by on my, late this afternoon and I didn't see. I thought I was at the wrong
I
place.
just sent it, if you wanna check your email,
Yeah.
Mark sent.
Okay.
Yeah, I just looked at it.
Shelley, you looked and you saw the trees there, so compare that picture that you took with the one I just sent and see if we're talking about the
Okay, do
same
you have
thing.
it on there?
Yes,
Okay, let's look. Because my take on it was that it separated this property from the house next door, and it was like almost a little fence there. And now it's just, the house next door is just right next to this house with no protection. There's no separation.
so, when I just did the Google maps
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's all gone, that whole road.
So
is
this that's Google Maps from September 2023, from the same angle, that
gone.
Mark was, and there it is. So that's a telephone pole, that's not the tree.
Mhm.
So they're all gone.
Yeah,
So what
so,
recourse? do
so we don't have anything to rule on here. I mean, I guess it's an enforcement issue. Because the homeowner didn't get approval for removal. I mean, I think I'm kind of with Dwight, is like, we could have probably could have salvaged, one or two of those trees.
I would have loved to have been able to keep the closest one to the road.
Yeah.
Prune
Yeah.
that back, and,
Mhm.
that was gonna be if it was healthy, that's what I was gonna ask if we.
I don't think they were
wires.
unhealthy. They looked healthy to me, those trees.
Were there overhead wires?
Yeah, they're all on red wires, but this tree, like, over time, like, Central Hudson, like, they'll cut near the wires, but then, like, once it's up there,
Well, they'll cut 10 feet from the wires,
Yeah.
anything, at any,
or you could have gone like one or two trees back,
Yeah.
where you got 10 feet back out of their legal
yeah,
area.
anyway, yeah. it
But it's
would-
too late now.
Too late now, would have been a point, and, homeowners and they just can't conceive of this. This notion of if it's a problem, it has to be removed.
Yeah.
I mean, the architect herself, well, it was going to fall down because the other side, if you remove the other side, the decay will set in and it won't last long. Well, that's nonsense. Of course it will, you remove that section of the tree, yes, it's a lot to remove at one time. The tree does fine, and over the course of the next 10 years, it actually grows more vertically because it's not completing. It'll actually produce limbs on that side, though they'll lag behind the others considerably. In any event, you can reshape what you have
Yeah.
over time through pruning, so,
It's like, this is a moot point. They're gone.
Well, now I think we just have to say, well, there were,
viable. There were viable trees in that road.
yes,
And
Not
it
all,
could have
I
been
mean-
thinned, the trees could have been thinned. And, personally, I would have rather had some kind of screen between, right next to the house that's next to them. On their left, rather than just having it be wide open.
Yeah, well, that's all,
And
It's
it's a
an
moot
important-
point. It's not
I
water
think
under
we-
the
I think-
bridge now.
I think we have no real ruling here. I think it
Well,
just gets down to enforcement.
I
Well,
think
now
we
it's-
should have some kind of enforcement.
well, our motion should be that the town enforces the shade tree law.
Right.
The code, yeah.
The code,
Mhm.
since they were cut down before we even had a
And
chance to.
no permit was granted.
No permit was granted, they were cut down, I think I'd have to look it up, but I think it's $500 a tree.
Mm.
So they're looking at 10 trees. Maybe
Yeah, you
next
can count
time,
this.
maybe next time they'll ask, or they'll wait
And
till we
they,
give
they
them.
can't deny that they knew about it, because they did put in an application, they just totally ignored the application. So, I think we need a little muscle behind our, put our muscle where our mouth is. Somebody's got to
We
do
raised
something
this
about it.
question, either last meeting or the meeting before.
Mhm.
And, Nicole, you
Mhm.
actually sent an answer or to a query to the building
Yes.
inspector.
And he replied.
And he replied answering what our responsibilities would be, saying that we didn't have to do anything about that. He didn't address the fact that it's the building inspector, it's his position that is in charge of enforcing any violations to the code.
Right, he did respond saying that
Two
they did
separate
not
things.
appear to be dead or dying, so they weren't given permission for emergency removal.
Right, he did go and check. Yeah.
So the ones at the end, he said were outside of the 20-foot buffer.
Mhm.
So we need to know how many were within the 20-foot buffer. And that number of trees that were in the buffer, they should be fined the amount of whatever the law says.
Hmm.
Or else we don't, why have a law?
And why do we even exist? Why put in a petition
Yeah.
if you are going to just ignore it and no one, there's nothing done about it and nobody cares?
Yeah, I
So,
guess I'm just disappointed that like they got cut on the day that we met to discuss it, you know, it just seems like
a little slap in the face, maybe?
a little bit, yeah. Like,
Not the first time. I think it's the second time this year that's happened.
Yeah.
But, so motion is that we ask that the village law be enforced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Because we didn't even approve or deny any of them. They were cut down before we had a chance.
And they knew they had to put it in an application. They just ignored it, so.
I'll email Alex and then I'll copy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, is there anything else?
Yes. Yes,
Those are the follow-ups, it's,
Yeah.
I gotta get back to the agenda here. I don't know, what do people think about, and I'll bring it before we get to the next thing, but the, Arbor Day, right? So we would have to we have, the shade tree has planted trees at the middle school in the past.
Mhm.
Right when I came on, I think some of the ones in between, on Main Street, between the parking lot and Main Street were planted by the Shade Tree Commission. But the reason I'm thinking about it is, for Arbor Day, we could maybe work with teachers and we could have some of the students come out at the end of the day and plant a tree with us on Arbor Day.
That would be really nice.
I thought that would be a nice.
If they would even do it.
Well, but it's an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
even my daughter mentioned, she's like, there needs to be a tree there, so I think they would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if like we could do it as when school lets out, and even if they're just walking by,
Mhm.
they could see us, I just thought it'd be a nice thing to do. And, we could probably reach out to some of the teachers. I think there's a sustainability committee. But I wanted we would have to, it's gonna take us a while. We gotta get the school board approval probably. But if the shade tree's interested in doing that for Arbor Day, I can start reaching out and see if they're in favor of doing it. I don't know what their plans are for that area. But if you look right along that, right on Manheim, there's a whole row of trees that are right there, except where that building was. Now that there's a gap there.
Yeah.
And so I think we could plant another tree, fill it in, like right next to the sidewalk, in line with all the other trees there.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a nice location, and I think the
I agree.
wires are on the other side of the street.
We could actually put in a big tree.
Yeah, so if, is everyone okay with me reaching out to the school board and
Sure.
if they're okay, this would be our Arbor Day planting location.
And we could have a little thing in the paper or something about it.
Yeah.
After I voted, I realized that when I went in there and saw all those things as you went by to vote, we could have had a shade tree commission thing and just a little bit about us, just for awareness, maybe even a phone number, contact.
So I'll move forward on that and get back in touch with people.
Yes, good idea.
Let's see. It's closing on me. I would like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes from September 11th, 2024. Or does anyone have any comments on them before I make a motion? Anyone?
I approve. Okay.
You quoted me as saying we need to give the bank some leeway, which I just want to make it clear, leeway in terms of when they plant, the timing of the planting. No other leeway. They
Okay.
need to plant something
Okay.
in at least two locations.
Yeah, and they're before we did get an email from the code officer, right? They're before they're before the planning board. They have an application in with a planting plan,
Oh,
Wait, which thing are we talking about?
the bank.
For the bank, okay, yes,
The empty bank.
so.
Oh, empty bank. I mixed them up. Sorry. Yeah, that was the other bank then. Down on,
Well,
Wait,
so
I'm so
the empty
confused.
bank has not moved at all then.
okay, maybe I was mixing the two
are
banks
you
up.
meaning Wells Fargo or okay, let's first
M&T.
get back to.
I mixed up Wells Fargo and M&T, I think,
Okay.
right?
But you were referring to
M&T.
what M&T from the
Yeah.
minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that,
So we're-
empty bank. It is empty then.
Oh, I mixed that up. So the letter was for Wells Fargo, right? Is that?
So wait, let me come
Was-
back down here.
The letter was from Wells Fargo saying that they are planning their tree planting?
I have to find it now.
Are you talking about from the agenda, something I have written on the agenda, or are you talking about from the minutes?
It was an
You're also
email.
discussing. Oh,
It was one of the emails before.
the only sort of letter that we got was, remember, we were waiting for 43 Center Street's attorney to get in touch with us for a letter from an arborist.
Yes,
That's a letter that they sent.
okay.
Maybe that's what you're thinking?
I was gonna get
No.
to that one next.
Yeah, that's, he hasn't.
Wait,
covered
wait,
it.
we'll worry about the banks later on then.
Okay.
So Ed, did you want to make a change or clarify your statement in the
Yeah,
minute
it's,
saying? that-
it's just that the leeway has to do with the timing of the planting, not give them some slack, they don't have to plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
That's all.
And now who is the liaison, between us and that M&T bank?
I think
Who does it? Who speaks to them?
I thought that the code officer had been doing that.
And got nowhere or didn't report what happened?
He did, the last time, when I emailed after the last meeting, I was asking for clarification when it said they were not fined for cutting down the trees, we're just confirming, were they or were they not? And he said that they were not, and that he's been in contact with the designers for the project, and they'll be submitting an application for site plan approval Wednesday with the addition of landscaping. That was just,
That's what I was bringing up.
that was me quoting what he had said in an email.
So we'll look
That's
at
good.
that plan and we'll see at our next
All right.
meeting, maybe we'll
Yeah,
discuss. it.
good.
Well, they need to understand that shrubs and flowers are not a replacement for trees and
Yes.
canopy.
But we often in the past, the planning board has asked for our input on applications involving trees. And maybe we could just make sure that they ask us when they receive this one.
Yeah, that it should be presented and we should at least have an opinion about it.
Okay. Now we want to get to 43 Center Street.
So they sent a letter. I don't know if you guys.
Yes, I have a copy.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, did I send the letter? Oh, no, I didn't send the letter. Oh, no, I didn't.
All right, this is.
So
mulberry,
they were
so
waiting
done
for
with
the
this.
one arborist to get back to them, to
Yeah.
get back to the
And-
attorney. He never got back.
Guess
to
he wasn't
them.
an arborist.
So now they have this arborist that came out, gave the same decision.
Well, the
And
same,
that's the last, he just said, here's the letter.
Yeah, we
And
can-
if you guys wanna talk to them, you can get in touch.
right,
That was
well,
really the last thing that.
in order to resolve the issue here, we have to talk. Now, this Adam Watson who wrote this, I find it interesting that he used the exact same wording and language that the original tree person.
Those
used.
trees are still there though.
Yeah,
They're still there though, right?
Well,
Did they cut
because
them down?
the builder had enough respect to regrade
Yeah,
after completing the construction part of it.
Mhm.
So yes, they're still there, but so are the liabilities. still there. And that's what has to be resolved, and I find it weirdly depressing that these two arborists, not either of them had a word to say about remediating the defects.
Yeah.
First of all, they're absolutely full of expletive when it comes to the disease they cite. Not happening here at
Oh,
all. It's just
they're trying to just bulldoze us. and
pretty much,
threaten-
and it's
threaten us.
insulting to our intelligence. And I take offense. There is no verticillium wilt. They don't have to go there.
Right,
Both trees, I'm gonna assume are viable, but they both have a conglomeration of dead material and broken limbs in the top that are a hazard to anybody passing by, to cars parked underneath.
Yeah.
The one bigger of the two, sugar maple, the formation is not good because it's really a double trunk tree that has grown together like that, and now that the crown is heavy and the tree is not so, a storm could cause one side to split away and crush anybody in its path or
Could,
a car. So, but these things can be remediated.
can we ask that this arborist give us his proposal for remediating the trees? For us to
Well,
review?
I guess he's inviting one of us to have a conversation, and, you know, I can call him or write to him and.
That'd be great.
And
Yeah.
start that.
because you know what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Well, and he's not gonna,
Yeah,
when he says that this has a vermicillin, you'll be like, I don't agree.
Yeah.
And-
Anyway.
And you'll say, no,
Okay,
I know
so-
that that is not a
Yeah,
vermicillin,
so
and
if-
I would go, oh.
So if you could talk to him, that would be great.
Well, you know, it's all written in an alarmist point of view. It's not just the
Yeah.
wilt, disease, which is not relevant here, in my opinion. Stabilizer roots were cut, yes, roots were cut. I don't know of anybody
I
who
don't think it
uses
was
this.
done by the sidewalk, it was done by the people.
Well, it's done almost on three sides. It was rough, but there's still plenty of root material to support life. It appears there may have occurred in the sidewalk. This also creates a dangerous condition which will only continue to worsen, dropping branches. Well, and you have dangerous condition because of injured roots. Branches just don't start falling out of the tree.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no logic behind it. Yes, there's dead limbs and gravity wins in the end. They will eventually fall, but dead limbs can be cut out.
yeah,
That's what pruning is all about. You
Yeah.
clean the crown of a tree that has dead limbs, broken limbs, clean that all out.
Well,
And
and,
any arborist worth his salt, should be capable of doing that.
and under the village law, they're required to do that. Like, if we see, like, going forward, if we see that those limbs are,
Yeah, but we're,
Potentially
that's,
causing-
that's a hard thing because, you know, you go up and down North Oakwood and there's, you know, every tree has something in it.
Yes,
Could
I-
hurt somebody.
but I would say that we may have to pay more attention to this one because they
Mhm.
damage the roots.
We do
And-
have to pay more attention to this
And,
one,
but
yes.
we can under the law. So it's not like we're saying you can't cut down this tree and we're gonna ignore it forever. We may have to keep looking at this tree and in 5 years, if the branches are all starting to die because there was doing too much
Yeah.
damage to the roots, we'll say, yeah,
Well,
prune it.
it's complicated here because we don't know how severe the root cutting was. I mean, we have a grasp of an idea, but under good conditions, it has enough root, it will regenerate more
Mhm.
if it has enough moisture. Guess what's happened in the last 5-6 weeks?
oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
It's a drought,
Ugh.
Yeah.
no rainfall at all.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, most healthy trees, mature trees, it doesn't impact them. They've lost their leaves, they've absorbed enough moisture, they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
But the newly planted trees,
Mhm.
like ours at Moriello and Boat Launch, plus, trees on the margin, trees that have so many insults or stresses that they're teetering between fully viable or seriously declining. And these trees will decline without water, without care, without pruning. So, and that makes the liability grow.
Mhm.
And you have to be aware that a homeowner who would be difficult to force him into remediation.
But if.
Oh,
it's
you
the law-
want me not to cut these down? Well, okay, I won't cut them down. You're gonna fine me. But what action am I gonna take? No action. I'm not spending any money on these trees. So in the event somebody gets hurt,
Uh-oh.
he's gonna say, well, it's not my fault. Your committee didn't give me a permit. I wanted these trees gone. And he'll bring in, expert after expert to say, oh yeah, those trees were hazardous. And they are. He could hire me. I would have to say, yes, these trees have hazard in them. Could they have been remediated? Yes, I firmly believe they could. That's what we did. I built a business on it.
So can we, you can have maybe you can have a conversation with this arborist
Yep,
and come back and give us a recommendation about
Sure.
what we should propose, do they be removed or can they be remediated? We could,
Okay, but also, if they are going to be removed, can we insist that they
why not?
plant other trees?
Why
Like we could just say right in our thing, that if if these trees are removed, then they will have to be replaced with like, like trees.
It's
similar
basically
trees.
what I said in my letter a month
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking, this could be a can of worms for us, so maybe we should at least consider granting the permits contingent upon and let him know that it will be enforced.
yeah, no, fine, I agree. I think that, we'll come back, you can give us a recommendation.
Okay, I'll speak to him and at least see if they're at least interested in the remediation I propose.
Now,
Okay.
do we know if this is a residence, that place that they're building? Cause my thought on it is that it's probably student housing. Because
It's a whole
I,
new house.
Hmm?
It's a whole new house.
yeah, I know, and I bet you they're building a place that's gonna have 4 apartments. It goes right to the edge of the property. They don't care what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There is a building permit, public record. You could look at it and say, is it single family residence or
I
Multi.
don't have it, but I can,
Yeah, we can look at, either way, I don't think our decision shouldn't be based on who's gonna live there, but,
Yeah, but I think that we should be strong about the fact that if they just cut these trees down and think they're gonna just go, walk
Well,
away.
every permit we've
Yeah.
given, we ask for, we contingent upon,
Yeah.
unless special circumstances
Yeah.
like Ed, and then we could find a different solution, like
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
a donation to our tree fund, or let's plant a tree at a different site.
okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
The last thing, and there's no village board meeting tonight, right? So
no.
we didn't line up because we've got,
No, yeah.
which means we have a little more time, but, the last one is I'm putting a list together for the last few years of all of the different shade tree applications and whether or not we ask them to plant a tree. And
Wow,
I'm almost done with it.
good,
And then, we'll try to keep it, updating it going forward. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier if you do it at the time. And I can share that.
that would be very helpful.
Here's, I got, there was 1 or 2 I couldn't find, but then Nicole sent me all of them. So what do I have here? Going back to 2021. We have. Up to 33 applications and Um, A lot of them, and so I'll share this list when it's all together, and then we can drive around and see if they've planted the trees, and if they
Yeah.
haven't, we can then maybe reach out to them and say, hey, remember in your application, you were supposed to plant a tree, and so, and then we'll
Good.
just keep track of that going
Yeah,
forward.
I think that's a great idea. And I think that's a conscientious thing that you're doing, making that list. So.
That's
and-
all. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have. And so is your friend, tell us about your friend.
Oh, he just texted me that he's sorry that he couldn't make it because he did have a previous thing and he was hoping to get out the time and he could. But, he's the son of one of my friends who's in the garden club. And actually, he said, I think he said he knew you from, he worked in, was it True Value for a while?
Mhm.
Let's see, John, yeah.
Mhm.
And he's very interested. She said he loves trees. He knows a lot about trees. I'm like, great, I think he'll love to be, to be a member, because I mean, that's what we're doing. Our whole purpose is to
Yeah, we need more people. on
plant
it.
trees. We want more trees and we want to protect the trees that people want to cut down for just inappropriate reasons.
Yeah, so I think, if he's interested,
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
and people are, I don't think we don't get to decide if someone joins that. That's up to the village board.
Yeah,
But he should fill out, I think he just send a letter of interest,
Yeah, he can even just send an email
email,
of interest to the village board.
Yeah.
okay, I'll let him know.
Make it
and,
as easy as possible.
and,
I'm still canvassing, looking for people to join.
yeah, I mean, there was an announcement made, I think, at the meetings,
Oh,
so,
so was anybody?
I think it's a hard time right now.
I think so.
Right, but, hey, we'll start with one person, then we'll get some more.
All right, so, I mean, I didn't wanna,
That's all I have.
okay. Oh, I'm so angry, those people just cut down. Just cut all those trees down when they knew they weren't supposed to.
So,
They shouldn't.
the next meeting is December 11th.
Okay.
That's all we have on this agenda. And so motion.
Make a motion to close.
Second? All in favor?
I,
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
yeah,
Sorry I couldn't be there in the room, but I appreciate being able to
yeah,
No,
See you
thanks
then.
for
See you
coming.
next time, Mark.
yeah,
Yeah.
see you.
see you next time.
So now we have to, two of us can sign. And Mark can maybe come by and sign at another time, right?
It's
Yep.
fine, yeah, Mark, would you be able to come by and sign the applications at some point?
Yes, I can do that. I'm actually out of town, so I will Monday, would that be okay? Is that enough?
Yeah, that's fine, that's no problem.
I can do that Monday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Take care.
Now.
Yeah.